Elizabeth Sear. Today we're going to talk about when death means death. One of the things that most people who haven't received a tarot reading, one of the things they're most fearful of or afraid of is the death card. So the way that I read tarot, I incorporate a lot of astrology. In the case of the death card, it covers the entire sign of Scorpio, so it can have that Scorpio energy. So most folks who are familiar with the tarot know that death really means transition, moving from point A to point B and all of the growing pains in between. It truly is a period of grief when one door closes and you're kind of fumbling around in the dark, waiting for another door to open. I often liken the death card to my study of reptiles. I'm an amateur herpetologist, study of reptiles, living in Arizona in the desert. That makes it really easy. But when reptiles grow, they shed their skin. But the whole lead up to it is somewhat difficult. Their skin becomes dry. It even covers their eyes and they become blind for a period. However, they start rubbing up against rocks and sticks and that skin starts to slough off. And you can kind of take a step back and look at this beautiful shiny new skin. It's a little tender to the touch for the first couple of weeks or so, but if you really take a step back and look, that animal has, depending on the animal and the age, has possibly grown by several inches in that short period of time. This is not unlike going through the death of something in your life, the growing pains that come with learning to find a new path or live differently or grow through something. Only a few times in my 20-plus year career as a tarot reader has death actually meant physical death. The first time it happened was only a few years into my career. It wasn't even a career at that point. I was still studying and I would read for others when I was called to do so. And there was a woman that I worked with at the airline, and she had a daughter, and she said, "Will you read for my daughter?" I was still a little nervous at that point reading for others, but I went into the reading, laid out all of her cards, and I immediately began crying. The reason I began crying is because so many of the cards were cards of loss. She had the Five of Cups, she had the Three of Swords, she had the Death card, she had all of these cards that really were a strong indicator that she had lost somebody. After I laid the cards out and kind of explained what I was picking up, she began crying, and she told me that her father had passed away about 2 weeks before the reading. Another time the death card meant death was during one of my annual readings. I do annual readings for people, 3 cards for each month for the following year. And this was somebody I'd read for pretty regularly. She made it a point to buy an annual reading from me every year for several years. So a few years ago I found out she died in the month of May. I just went back and looked at her annual reading I'd given her the December before, and sure enough, the death card was in there for her month of May. Of course, that isn't how it normally works. Normally, the death card is really all about transition, going through what can't be avoided, an important ending. Death is often also looked at as a rebirth, and it can be a necessary change forced through circumstances. So if you have been nervous about getting a tarot reading, please know that death doesn't always mean death. As a matter of fact, 99.999% of the time, it won't mean physical death. It's simply a transformation, changes, important changes that force you to kind of find another path or to look for a different way of being.